Observational, they are a constant fixture in our background, picking through the urban noise. For centuries, we've shooed them away and categorized them as pests. We tend to reserve traits like advanced problem-solving and deep emotional processing for ourselves, or at least for our closest relatives, the great apes. This diagram maps the brain-to-body mass ratio of a crow against that of a primate. The two values are nearly identical. Looking at this neurological density, Professor John Marsluff from the University of Washington describes the crow as a flying monkey. Behind their ordinary exterior lies a cognitive depth that challenges our assumptions about animal consciousness. To test the limits of that intelligence in a highly complex, unpredictable environment, researchers turned to the streets of Seattle. Marsluff's team trapped 15 local crows. During the capture, the researchers wore specific, distinct rubber masks to ensure the birds associated those exact faces with a threat before safely releasing them. For years afterward, whenever a researcher walked through the neighborhood wearing one of those masks, the marked crows would dive bomb, scold, and aggressively harass them. Then the flock's response expanded. Crows that had never been trapped, birds that weren't even present for the original event, began actively targeting the researchers. The original 15 birds communicated precise visual descriptions to the rest of the population. They possess an oral language capable of transmitting specific threat intelligence. Beyond immediate flight or fight responses, they identify specific individuals, share those identities across their network, and maintain coordinated, multi-generational reactions. This incredible ability to share complex information scales across entire populations, as seen in the agricultural fields of Chatham, Ontario. Every year, roughly 500,000 crows migrated through this area, damaging local crops. To stop them, the town's mayor initiated an aggressive campaign to actively hunt the birds. The flock did not abandon their ancestral migration route to avoid the danger. Instead, they calculated the vertical range of the town's shotguns. Hundreds of thousands of birds adjusted their flight paths, cruising at an altitude calibrated to be just above lethal range, passing safely over the town without changing their destination. A massive flock encountered a localized threat and distributed the exact parameters needed to survive it across their entire population. Curious, that level of collective problem-solving requires an incredibly high degree of individual cognitive power. This visualization shows cognitive tests conducted by researcher Ed Wasserman, where crows successfully analyzed and categorized data, matching distinct objects based on identical color, shape, and numerical count. They also recognize their own reflections in mirrors. This is a clear, definitive marker of self-awareness, previously thought to exist exclusively in a very few ancient mammal species. When a member of the flock dies, local crows gather around the body and stay there in collective silence. These assemblies suggest a social processing of loss that mirrors our own rituals. They also engage in cross-species reciprocity. People who regularly leave food for neighborhood crows often find shiny pieces of trash or polished glass carefully placed among their flowers, objects left behind in a clear form of exchange. Abstract logic, social rituals for the dead, and the exchange of physical objects represent a cognitive landscape far more familiar than we once assumed. They sit quietly on the power lines above our driveways, blending into the background of daily life. Yet, the exact cognitive traits we use to define our own humanity are actively thriving in a society right above our heads. If you walk past a group of these birds and notice them watching you, they are taking note of your face, evaluating your behavior, and discussing you with the flock. Behind that dark eye is a highly organized, emotionally complex observer, taking accurate notes on the world below.